So particularly with this image, which you see all over Tartarian theories, there's really kind of the grand oversized scale.
What if everything we know about our cities is built on a lie? Beneath our streets, beneath the sidewalks we rush across every day, lie the remnants of a world we were never meant to see.
Most of the Eurasian continent was, until about 200 years ago, incorporated into a massive empire called Great Tartaria, or Tartary.
Ornate stone windows sit below eye level, their frames half drowned in dirt. Doorways open into walls of earth. Granite arches, blackened as if scorched by flame, remain silent. These aren't ruins from a distant empire. They're foundations of our own cities, forgotten, buried, repurposed. But what if they weren't just forgotten? What if they were erased? Because scattered across the globe are clues that point to an advanced global civilization, one that doesn't appear in our history books, one that may have known secrets we still haven't rediscovered. This is the mystery of Tartaria, and it begins not with what we see, but with what we can't. The city beneath the city. Walk through the oldest parts of any major city, Paris, Istanbul, St. Petersburg, Boston, and look closely. At first glance, nothing seems out of place. But then, something catches your eye. A perfectly arched window sitting beneath the pavement, a row of bricked-up doorways opening into soil, streets built above other streets like layers of forgotten time.
Here at the bottom, we have important clues as to how the city continued in the upper part of the circus.
This isn't rare. In fact, it's disturbingly common. Architectural anomalies like these appear across continents, often in buildings allegedly constructed in the 1800s. And yet, their scale and precision seem impossible for the tools of the time. Massive granite columns, seamless stone blocks, intricate metalwork, all supposedly crafted by hand, with wooden scaffolds and horse-drawn carts. But the real question isn't just how, it's why. Why build such grandeur only to bury half of it underground? Why place elaborate carvings where no one could ever see them? Some researchers believe the answer is simple and world-altering. These structures weren't built in the 19th century. They were uncovered, excavated from the remains of a forgotten civilization, then cleaned up, repurposed, and given new stories. In this version of history, the builders didn't lay the first stone, they just removed the dirt. And in doing so, they may have buried something far more valuable: the truth. The vanishing of Tartaria. From the 1500s to the late 1700s, European maps consistently labeled a vast region, stretching from Eastern Europe through Siberia and into northern China with a single name: Tartaria. These weren't blank, unexplored zones. The maps showed cities, roads, mountain ranges, borders, sometimes even subregions like Muscovite Tartary or Chinese Tartary. These maps were drawn by the same cartographers whose accuracy we still trust today. Their records helped guide ships, armies, and empires. And yet, sometime around the early 1800s, the word Tartaria vanished overnight. It wasn't replaced, it was erased, gone from atlases, encyclopedias, classroom walls, not revised, deleted. Historians explain it away as a placeholder term for lands that Europeans hadn't yet fully explored. But that explanation doesn't hold when you consider how detailed the maps were, how consistently the term was used for centuries, and how swiftly it disappeared. Even stranger, many of these same areas show signs of once being densely developed. Yet today, they're dismissed as rural backwaters. So what happened? How does an empire-sized territory go from well-documented to non-existent? Some believe Tartaria was more than a geographic label. It was the name of a civilization, global in reach, rich in knowledge, and dangerous to the narrative being written by emerging powers in the 19th century. Erasing the name may have been the first step in erasing the memory, because if no one remembers you existed, did you ever really exist at all? Ghost cities and giant skeletons. Photographs from the late 1800s show something quietly unsettling. Cities like Chicago, San Francisco, and St. Petersburg appear fully formed. Grand boulevards, ornate stone buildings, public fountains, sweeping plazas. But look closer, and you'll notice something missing: people. In many of these images, there are no crowds, just a few figures in work clothes, often shoveling dirt or clearing debris. Not construction crews, excavation crews. These weren't cities being built from scratch. They were cities being dug out, as if someone had stumbled upon them, already complete, buried in earth, and waiting to be re-inhabited. Now, pair that with a chilling thread from 19th century newspapers. Across the United States, Europe, and parts of Asia, reports began surfacing of giant human skeletons uncovered during digs and construction. Some measured 8, 9, even 10 feet tall. They were often buried with tools, armor, or weapons far too large for any modern human to wield. These weren't legends whispered in taverns. They were published in mainstream papers, sometimes accompanied by photographs. Museums briefly took possession, and then the evidence vanished. The bones were lost, mislabeled, or quietly reburied. Coincidence? To those who believe in the Tartaria theory, these giants were its rulers, literal titans of a lost civilization. If their remains were real, they posed a direct challenge to the accepted story of human history. And so, like the cities themselves, they were buried again, this time under silence. Not because they didn't exist, but because someone decided we shouldn't remember they did. The architecture that shouldn't exist. From Moscow to Mumbai, Philadelphia to Phnom Penh, certain architectural signatures appear again and again. Tall spires, massive domes, copper-clad roofs, and intricate ornamentation that seems strangely functional. Historians call them decorative. But there's a problem with that. Copper is one of the most conductive metals on Earth, and these elements aren't placed randomly. They sit at the highest points, like antennae, often aligned with neighboring structures, as if designed to send or receive energy. These buildings, some supposedly built in the 1800s with rudimentary tools, exhibit a degree of symmetry, scale, and engineering that's difficult to replicate even today. Many include star-shaped fortresses with mathematically perfect angles, copper globes atop minarets, and carvings that echo circuit-like patterns. And yet, no blueprints survive explaining how or why they were built that way. Some believe these structures were more than just monuments. They were part of a global energy network designed to tap into the Earth's natural electromagnetic fields, transmitting power wirelessly, without wires, smoke, or coal. That theory has been mocked, even ridiculed. But it leads to a pivotal question. If these buildings weren't decorative, what were they doing? Because the consistency of their design across continents, cultures, and centuries suggests something more than coincidence. It suggests memory of a technology once known, then forgotten. And that memory may not have been as lost as we think. Tesla's forgotten world. In 1891, a man stepped onto a New York stage and lit gas-filled tubes without touching them. There were no wires, no visible power source, just radiant light moving through the air like magic. That man was Nikola Tesla. And what he demonstrated wasn't a trick. It was a technology the world still struggles to understand. Tesla believed energy didn't need wires. He envisioned towers that could draw power directly from the Earth and the ionosphere, delivering wireless electricity across vast distances. His most ambitious attempt was the Wardenclyffe Tower, built in 1901. It was topped with a massive copper dome, surrounded by grounding rods, and designed to resonate with the planet itself. If that sounds familiar, it should. Its design is eerily similar to the so-called Tartarian architecture found across continents. Domes, copper finials, antenna-like spires, and geometric grounding patterns, all built long before Tesla's time, or perhaps long after they were first used. Is it possible Tesla wasn't inventing something new, but rediscovering knowledge from a lost civilization? His ideas were dismissed, defunded, and eventually buried. The Wardenclyffe Tower was torn down, and with it, perhaps the last modern attempt to replicate a forgotten energy system that once spanned the globe. It raises a haunting possibility. What if we already had the technology to power our world cleanly, wirelessly, and let it slip through our fingers because we couldn't recognize it? Or worse, because someone made sure we wouldn't. They tell us history is a straight line, but maybe it's not a line at all. Maybe it's a spiral, circling over forgotten truths, buried cities, and silenced knowledge. And if that's true, then the future won't be shaped by what we invent, but by what we uncover. If this made you look at your world differently, share it. If you've seen something that doesn't fit the story we're told, Leave it in the comments, because the more we dig, the more we remember.